Yes.
David, I'd like you to comment on the same question that I asked Marcia earlier about how you see the City Council progressing on the approved master plan for the hospital expansion. But also you mentioned the hope of a regional hospital. It's a two-pronged question there. A regional hospital estimated cost of $1 million a bed. How would you strategize to try to get a regional hospital to consider building a 100 or 200 bed hospital here in our valley? And secondly, how would you meet the medical needs of the community in the 6 to 8 years that it would take to get that hospital built in our community, even if we found someone to build it?
Right. Let me answer that, and that's a great question. For those of you that don't know, I was the guy, or maybe I said this, I was the one who kind of organized the opposition to the GNL project. Let me be really clear on where I stand with that. I was not involved in the lawsuit, and I absolutely have no intention to go throw a wrench in the works. If I sit on this council, I wish the hospital the very best. I've said that publicly in written statements. I will tell you my deep concern with the plan we got is threefold. There is absolutely nothing contractually that ever requires them to build that hospital building. On top of that, we took, so basically GNL is the beneficiary of that plan. They got 3 medical office buildings. The traffic that creates in front of that hospital is impossible, and there is no way to mitigate it. It was never explained how it was going to be mitigated. And what we did as a city is we basically took that intersection and bought it with public funds out of our Bridge and Thoroughfare District and removed that responsibility for GNL to mitigate their project. I think that was reprehensible. Lastly, I think what we really did is we delayed an opportunity to talk about a regional medical center for at least another decade. And I think that is probably the biggest ripoff of all for our community. Frankly, I'll be very honest, and this is going to be direct to your question, I'm in finance. I have real concerns that hospital's ever going to get the financing it needs to be built. Community hospitals can't operate as efficiently. They pay higher rates for their bonds. And that's why they're being gobbled up. They just can't afford to compete with regional hospitals. Now, I hope they do, but that is the very reason why we should have made sure GNL didn't get everything in that deal until we made sure the hospital was triggered and built. And as the language is right now, there's no teeth in that. So I don't think we're going to have a hospital in the next 6 to 8 years, if that's what you're referring to. Right now what we're getting is a parking structure and a helipad. After that, I expect a medical office building, and after that, I expect some more parking structures and maybe some more medical office buildings. I highly doubt we're going to have a hospital in the next 15 years. If I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, for the good of the community and the good of Henry Mayo. But this city needs a plan for a regional medical center to keep growing at the rate we want to grow it. And right now, we just destroyed any opportunity to talk about that, and that's a failure of the council. Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to go back to the immigration thing just briefly. Everyone has mentioned that they want to fight illegal immigration, and unfortunately the city's hands are pretty well tied as far as what they can legally do. However, it's my understanding that the state of Arizona has passed legislation that says if they catch illegal immigrants working for your company, they pull your business license. Mm-hmm. In other words, you want the answer away, take the sugar off the table.
Yep.
Okay? Now, the city can't do it because they don't issue business licenses, but would you be willing to go to the county who does issue business licenses and encourage them to pass a law to handle it that way?
I would absolutely encourage that. I am of the opinion that the answer to the immigration issue lies on two sides. You know, there's always, everything gets distilled down, or what do I want to say? It gets kind of reduced down to the left and the right in this country. That's become the argument with immigration. And the left wants to go after the businesses, and they say the right won't go after the businesses. And meanwhile, the right says we should close the border, but then they want to be soft. I think you've got to do both, and this is way outside, by the way, this is way outside of something I will decide as a council member, but I think we've got to look at securing our borders, and And we've got to, I absolutely support if we need to go into our businesses here locally with E-Verify or whatever else we can do. And I honestly, I don't know the answer, but I would absolutely, if we can get more strength from the county, I would support that. There's too many businesses here that are operating legally and paying people full price for medical and whatever else they offer to their employees, to have some guy down the street do it all with illegal workers and not have to pay those same things. And I think we're all worse off for it. I think that's got to change. Yes.
Okay, that
Yeah.
side of town. How do we and Canyon Country get some benefit from all those dollars over there? Because that's all in Valencia again.
Yeah.
Maybe Castaic
Well,
on a good day.
Great question. I think, frankly, I don't know when it happened that Valencia became our town center, because when I look at an aerial photograph, yeah, I mean, it really is more at where I kind of see it is more at Bouquet Canyon and Soledad. And frankly, I don't think we can continue to do that. I mean, there was a proposal out recently when they were trying to put the Sheraton in that all of a sudden we'll just add a convention center or a conference center kind of behind where that hotel goes. Well, I don't know if the Santa Clarita Convention Center, what we could really have, can fit behind the Shell station at the corner of Valencia and McBean, right? So I don't, and I know, I mean, I can tell you just flat out, the reason that we tried to rush that through is because we want to get that hotel there. Well, that's not a strategic plan. So there's two parts. I mean, part of it is I think we need to look holistically at our entire valley. We need to figure out how we get. I honestly, for that kind of a center, I picture it being more at Soledad and Bouquet. Whitaker Burmites, the big pink elephant for development within Santa Clarita, and I want to see that used. I'd like to see some tournament soccer fields and things that bring tourists here to come and use those fields and allow and give us more open space for residents on this side as well. The second part of the problem, though, I'll tell you right now, is process. Canyon Country, and I'm going to say this, I don't mean to sound snooty as some Valencia resident, but I think Canyon Country does not get the attention it deserves. It absolutely does not. And I will applaud the city. I think the city has been trying to get out and deal with the sign ordinances and trying to deal with the graffiti and some of that. But I do not think it's fair the way the money is shuffled around in this town and where it kind of gets focused in some areas and left out of others. And that is absolutely what I am running against in this campaign. Yes. I saw Bob Keller here earlier, and I don't know if he's still here. Are you still here, Bob? Oh, yeah, there he is. Okay. So Bob and I are at odds a little bit on this one because I think it's a mistake to move it to the end of the meeting. However, I will say this. I don't agree that we just move it back to the front, because I think what happened is we kind of started to hijack the front of those meetings. So people that are on the agenda that night are sitting there for 3 hours while residents come out and speak, and they've got maybe an attorney or whatever to represent their project or whatever else, and they're having to pay for that, and that's not right either. So here's my solution for how to solve this. And I don't know if we're at odds on this. My solution is, if there is a group that comes out that you will allow 1 hour for public participation and no more than that, if those people will organize and get their 10 speakers or whatever, or maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever it is, but have your speakers organized to come and say what they're going to say at the front end, but then they're cut off. And if you've got another 50 speakers that want to speak, they have to wait till the end of the meeting. I think that's fair to the people that want to be heard at the beginning. I think it forces a group, if they're organized and upset, to come forward and make sure they're getting their point across early on, and it's also fair to the people on the agenda. That's how I'd solve that problem.